Hello, I'm Mike Scott, volunteer and archivist at Christ Church, North Shields. My talk today is about some of the church records. For hundreds of years, baptisms, marriage and burials have been recorded in churches throughout the land. The parish registers have been described as the peerage of the people. Parish registers were first introduced into England in 1538. During the reign of Henry VIII, but they did not come into general use until the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. The registers held by Christ Church start in 1607, during the reign of James I, 2 years after the Gunpowder Plot. The christenings, weddings and burials recorded before the building of Christ Church in 1668 would have taken place at the Parish Church of St Mary within Tynemouth Castle. The early registers are in good condition considering their age and are held at Northumberland County Records Office at Woodhorn, along with all our other records. Before the advent of newspapers, the parish clerk would sometimes add interesting scraps of information. Under 5th of June 1633 is the simple entry, King Charles was at Tynemouth Castle. The king was en route to Scotland, accompanied by the Earls of Newcastle and Northumberland, and they had come from Newcastle by water in regal splendour. It is under burials that the most interesting entries are to be found, with the parish clerk adding his own snippets of information. For instance, 1654, January the 14th, Catherine, wife of Henry Hart of Shields, wonderfully gone. 1674, June the 28th, Dorothy Caister, alias Dame Dore, buried. She died suddenly. Reports go, some did her wrong. 1772, Mr. Anthony Mitchell of Cullercoats, buried. He was riding surveyor for the customs between Newcastle and Newbiggin. The 20th he was found dead betwixt Hartley and Cullercoats, supposed by many to be murdered by two villains that used to run brandy. The Black Death struck the parish in 1666, and the first entry on February the 4th records, Eleanor, daughter of William Banks, Robert, son of Robert Hull, both buried. They died of contagion or sickness, and was he first that was taken notice on. In the margin of the register it states that only 14 died. 1681, September the 9th, Robert Thompson, alias Hob with ye Hole, buried. Killed yesterday at ye Black Middens, by ye Bank, and a great stone that fell down upon him when he was howking for coals. The 1607 register isn't the earliest record we hold. In 1589, the new Vicar of Tynemouth, Gilbert Spence, stood with this small book at St Mary's, Tynemouth, to give his assent to the 39 articles of religion, the defining statements of doctrines and practices of the Church of England. He was also swearing allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth I during turbulent religious times. To put the event in context, the year before was the defeat of the Spanish Armada, and the year after Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet and A Midsummer Night's Dream. In the back of the book is written, May 1589, Gilbert Spence, clerk, Vicar of Tynemouth, did openly in the church at Tynemouth read and acknowledge these synodical articles. Then present amongst the congregation, George Foslane, John Clark, Robert Miles, and others. Other records held include the minutes of the 4 and 20 and the church warden's accounts. The 4 and 20 was a self-electing body of men first formed in Elizabethan times and consisting of influential local people, usually led by the local aristocracy. This is the list of names of the 24 in 1645, headed by Sir Nicholas Tempest. They were the forerunner of the town council, responsible, amongst other things, for the roads, weights and measures, and the poor law. They laid an annual assessment or local tax on the parish to cover expenditure and the maintenance of the church building. The 4 and 20 organised the building of the new church. In 1647, the 4 and 20 imposed the strict Puritan observance of Sunday, which had been laid down by Parliament in 1644. Profaners of the Lord's Day, being absent from church, drinking in time of preaching, being drunken and swearing, to be severely punished according to the penalty laid on by the minister and church wardens, acquainting the 24 with it. A diligent search to be made every Lord's Day, before and after noon, by the church wardens, their assistants, and the assistants of all the petty constables, for observing and keeping of the Sabbath. This is a page from the minute book of the 4 and 20, March 1657. The gentlemen of the 4 and 20 order that the proceeds of the church rate was to be given towards the erecting of a new church at Brock's Close, for the good of the navigators and parishioners. Signatories include Ralph Delaval and Ralph Gardner. On the 5th of July 1668, the church was consecrated. In the 4 and 20 minute book is the brief entry: 1668, July 5th, Anno Domini, the new church aforesaid was consecrated by Right Reverend Father and God, John, Lord Bishop of Durham, and named Christ's Church. The church wardens were, and are today, legally responsible for the running of the church, and in times past kept detailed and immaculate accounts. Amongst the items listed for Easter Tuesday 1770 are: to 6 carts of coal and 6 carts of sand, £1 1 shilling; to 3 shovels and a spade, and watching a woman in the stocks, 13 shillings and twopence; to a sexton's coat and 2 new prayer books, £2 19 shillings and fourpence; to otters, 4 moths and weasels' heads, 5 shillings and fourpence. This was a bounty paid on the heads of certain animals considered to be vermin. A fourmort, or fourmort, was another name for a polecat. The records held are various and numerous: tithe maps, church rate books, maps, photographs, and lots of legal documents. All baptism, marriage and burial records have been photographed or transcribed and are available to view free in North Shields Library. I hope you have found this of interest. Thank you.